Okay, the November 22nd meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Baroth.
Here.
Mr. Baroth is present. Mr. Brew.
Here.
Mr. Brew is present. Mr. Dondorfer.
Here.
Mr. Dondorfer is present. Mr. Keller.
Here.
Mr. Keller is present. Mr. Mafucci.
Here.
Mr. Mafucci is present. Chairwoman Wright.
Here.
Chairwoman Wright is present. Mr. Udelson.
Here.
Udelson is present.
All right, we will need to suspend the rules of the legislature for the purpose of prohibiting public in-person attendance. You have a non-debatable motion on your agenda, which needs a maker and a second.
Move it, Madam Chairwoman. Second. Brew.
Moved by legislator Keller, seconded by legislator Brew. Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? I think that you can't oppose, right?
I can oppose.
Oh, any opposed? Okay, I guess item carries. There is no one signed up for the public forum tonight, I don't believe.
We did not have any submissions emailed in, and there's no one signed up for the public forum this evening.
All right, thank you. I would like to introduce Robert Franklin, Chief Financial Officer of Monroe County, who is here to present the 2022 Monroe County budget as it pertains to the Environment and Public Works Committee. We'll have a question and answer period following the presentation. Is Bob out there?
Bob,
Does
are
he
you
need
there?
to come out off of mute?
Oh, looks
Oh,
like
I see.
he's connecting.
Okay. I see.
Okay, are we good now, Dave?
I think we're good. Did you
Dave?
wanna- Yep, go ahead. Did you want to share your screen?
I do, thank you.
Yep.
We didn't hit *6, so I was still muted. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Well, legislators, tonight is our budget presentation for the 2022 proposed budget as it pertains to the EPW committee. EPW, it's all about our airport and our Department of Environmental Services. Overall, our net appropriations combined are about $1.4 million lower from the 21 adopted budget. A good portion of that reduction, of $1 million, strictly relates to our facilities and the fact that we have an increase in our facilities chargebacks of their building expenses to the user departments. Those of you who were here last year may recall that for the 21 budget, we appropriated $1 million of fund balance within our internal services fund for building operations, which of course means, yes?
It's stuck on the first slide. Are you trying to switch the screen, or are we just seeing the wrong screen or something? It
You
says-
only see the initial
yeah,
welcome screen?
we only see the first
Title page.
title page.
I'm going to stop sharing. Try it again. Options they give you. Yeah, what options they give us? Screen 1, screen 2. Every screen 1, right? That's what they can't see.
Try that one again.
Oop.
Shows just
All right, Dave, what do you see now? You're not sharing yet, right?
Nope, not yet. Now
There
it's
we
good.
go.
All right, so hopefully I can work this from here. My apologies, I'm new. All right, from this slide, really quick. Overall, net appropriations are about $1.4 million lower from the 21 adopted budget. Good portion of that reduction, about $1 million, relates to our facilities and an increase in our chargebacks of building expenses to the user departments. Those of you who were here last year will recall that for the 21 budget, we appropriated $1 million of fund balance within our internal services fund, specifically for building operations. And by doing that, that means we did not have to charge user departments $1 million worth of expenses. We are not using any fund balance this year in the proposed budget, so therefore our chargebacks in the proposed budget are creeping back up. You guys able to see the Department of Aviation appropriation screen?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so as you saw in the previous slide, airport expenses are incredibly stable, totaling about $24.3 million. Something I mentioned last year that I think is worth repeating, that air travel to and from our airport may be down, but whether there are 100 flights a day or just 10, we still need to provide security, maintain firefighting capacity, keep the runways and the taxiways open, and keep the building clean and sanitized. These functions are essentially representing fixed operating costs. What variability does exist from year to year is largely attributable to employee salary and benefits, as almost 40% of the airport's budget is tied to personnel costs. This year, a reduction in the airport's debt service was able to help accommodate for the increases in personnel costs resulting from Monroe County implementing a $15 per hour minimum wage and the upcoming union contract negotiations. Looking at our Department of Environmental Services and specifically our solid waste fund, almost 80% of solid waste revenues and expenses are directly tied to each other, meaning expenses for our landfill host agreements, transfer hauling contracts, and public works contracts have equal and specifically attributable revenue. And of course, they do fluctuate year to year, largely because of programming not related to the county. City of Rochester's whole house demolition program is a good example of what I mean by that. As the City of Rochester identifies a greater or lesser number of houses for demolition, our revenues from the city and our related transfer hauling expense will increase or decrease in direct proportion. One revenue with significant variation from year to year, not tied to a direct expense, is the revenue we earn from the sale of energy produced at our Mill Seat landfill, specifically our methane gas to energy plant. Green energy is a commodity subject to market conditions, and while market demand has remained high, there's been a significant increase in supply. As a result, the revenue we earn for each megawatt hour of energy produced has declined a little bit. Looking at our engineering, facilities, and fleet operations, gross appropriations are about $1.45 million higher than what was adopted for 2021, almost entirely related to higher debt service next year within our facilities division. And our department chargebacks are also higher by about $2.65 million. Part of that increase is due to the higher debt service I just mentioned. Both facilities and fleet charge out their expenses to user departments, so as their costs go up, so do their chargebacks. The other part of the chargeback increase relates to our use of $1 million in fund balance last year for our facilities division, but not this year. As I may have mentioned earlier, using fund balance last year offset $1 million worth of expense. Therefore, last year's chargebacks were $1 million lower. combined revenues are almost $1.2 million lower for the proposed budget compared to the 21 adopted. Again, part of that is due to using $1 million of fund balance last year. In our budget, the use of fund balance is treated as a revenue source. The remaining reduction in our revenue is also fund balance related, this time reflecting a lower amount used from our reserve for bonded debt. And finally, my last slide is looking at our Pure Waters appropriations. We don't often see grants awarded to Pure Waters, but for 21, we brought 3 legislative referrals before you for grant acceptance that amended the budget by about a little more than $189,000. So you can see the difference between the adopted and amended budgets on this screen. For the 2022 proposed budget, overall appropriations are almost flat, about $77.4 million, with a decrease in the Rochester district being offset by smaller increases in Arundequite Bay, South Central, and our Gates, Chile, Ogden districts. Like last year, I should discuss what isn't on this particular slide. That's a proposed rate increase of 2% within each of our 4 districts. In prior years, district rates would remain flat for 4 or 6, even 8 years, and then would require a sharp 10% or 12% increase. The approach we'd like to take going forward is to budget much smaller increases on an annual basis, consistent with New York State's tax cap limit, which I believe you know would be the lower of inflation or 2%. In the long run, I think this approach should result in much smaller rate growth over the same 4 to 8 year period, but on the other hand, provide department managers with more predictability for budgetary and planning purposes. Madam Chair, that actually concludes my presentation. I have to stop sharing. Nope. Thank you for stop sharing. So at your convenience, Madam Chair, we can handle any questions.
Oh, any questions?
Legislator Dondorfer?
Go ahead.
Bob, thank you very much for your presentation. I just have a quick question with the astronomical cost of fuel going up. Is this going to affect the budget with that at all? Or are we locked into a contract with fuel costs already for 2022?
Madam Chair, actually the change in cost of fuel does impact our budget. And you'll probably see changes throughout the departments. Some of those changes are dependent upon the price change only. Others may have slight impact due to utilization changes. But really, Monroe County, we're in an energy aggregation group, but that primarily is limited to the purchase of natural gas, not diesel or gasoline.
So this is through you, Madam President, to the administration. So is this something that we'll have to revisit as the year goes on?
Madam Chair, I never want to promise you'll never have to revisit something, but this, the departments in Monroe County, we're all aware of price increasing. If their estimates were spot on, everything is all sunshine and roses. If their estimates were off, we're going to have to adjust that as the year progresses.
Very good. Thank you. That's all I have.
Say that. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Legislator Baroff.
Okay, just to be clear, this is when we're talking about the budget right now, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, first I want to say thank you to Mr. Franklin for hitting on exactly the same thing I was going to bring up in my question. So I feel that we're all on the same page here. I'm going to jump right to the charge increases because it's something I've always been keeping an eye on and been watching. And as Bob, well, Ms. Franklin would know, I kind of nag sometimes too, and I apologize for that. But my question is, I understand the desire to move from a no changes for years on end, and then a 10% change after 4 or 5 years, or something like that. I get that. And then I also understand why, how you are abiding by the New York State tax increase. I understand that too. My question is the need for the increase in of itself based on the changes in the Pure Water's assessment, or is it based on something else? Through the chair.
Madam Chair, just to clarify, the question focusing is on the need for a rate increase. Is that correct?
Well, the need for more funds, or however.
We do have our department director, Director Garland. I'm going to kick it off and let him follow up. But our request for a rate increase in this proposed budget is really to accommodate the work that is being done on an annual basis within the 4 districts. But Director?
Yep. Thank you, Director Franklin, and through you, Madam Chair. As Director Franklin mentioned earlier, reliability in our rates is critical to our reliable and resilient utility. And as your honorable body knows, we've had some, at times, dramatic rate increases, which we feel, can be impactful to our ratepayers when they've occurred in the past. And we've gone sometimes 2, 5, 10 years before rate increases occur. And then they're fairly dramatic. What we would like to take is a more measured approach, again, keeping the incremental rate increase very small, manageable for our ratepayers, but they do reflect, increases in expenses. As Legislator John Dorfer mentioned earlier, we have increases in fuel, we have increases in energy, chemicals. We're also relying, as you know, through our capital improvement program for our general improvements for each of our 4 districts, relying cash capital now, which is a more prudent way to finance the nature of those improvements. So we feel in aggregate, this provides us with a more reliable, measured source of revenue and a more appropriate means by which we increase rates.
Thank you. As a follow-up, I appreciate that. I agree with this practice. I think it's a good idea moving forward. Here's my concern. I looked at the percentage increase of the rates, and if you look at the O&M increase and the capital increase, it ranged anywhere from, depending upon district, and you can find this on page 124, depending on district, it went from like 1.75% increase up to 2.02% increase, and the same for the capital increase from 2% flat up to 2.24% increase. And now that sounds like nothing, but when you're talking about a lot of dollars, it adds up fast. And what I've noticed is in both cases, the maximum increase in percentage rate increase was with Rochester Pure Water's district. And for me, that's kind of problematic, because then I looked at the Pure Water's assessment increase, which you can find on pages 129, 131, 132, and 135 for each individual district. And it goes from Rochester having the assessment increase of 2.14%, the very lowest increase, all the way up to 8.93% rate assessment increase for the Northwest District. And I know that Rochester is the biggest one, but that can't account for it all. And my concern is that the Rochester Pure Water District customers are going to be carrying more of the load than they should, even though it's appropriate to do these increases on a yearly basis. I understand that. But it seems odd to me that the Pure Water assessments are going up significantly more quickly in all 3 other districts. And to tell you, it's like 8.93% Northwest, 5.44% in Irondequoit, 4.58% in Gase, Charlie, Ogden, and only 2.14% in the Rochester district. Yet they all have very similar increases in capital and in O&M. And even though they're very similar, in all cases, Rochester is still the highest percentage increase. And I'll put a proviso in there. That's based on my math in the document itself. So if you could address that, whoever, regarding why this is the case, and maybe I'm misreading things, but it just seems the assessment's increasing dramatically elsewhere, but not with Rochester, yet we're paying more. Through the chair.
Yep, through you, Madam Chair. Again, this is Mike Garland. Just refresh your memory on how those rates are applied and how they are represented in each of the 4 districts. Again, if you look at the Pure Water's assessment lines, those are, a function of the rates, but also a function of water consumption. So that's where you're going to see variability, because there is variability in water consumption in the 4 districts when you apply that O&M rate. And that's where you're going to see the variability. The intent is to apply a uniform rate to each of the 4 districts. Again, we can't control water consumption, and that's an important variable in our calculation of assessments.
So that makes sense in the sense that if you're in the city, for example, sewer, all your sewage system is going to use the water. Whereas if you're more in the suburbs, there will be a percentage out there that are not connected on septic or something else. Is that correct? One of the reasons, I mean?
Through you, Madam Chair, that is correct. There's different usages. In the city may have more industrial usages, or maybe other suburban districts have less water consumption, so it can fluctuate. You can have situations in a given season. If you have a very dry summer, you may have more irrigation happening in lawn or other larger commercial properties, throughout the suburban districts. So it does fluctuate, and we definitely see a fluctuation in each of the 4 districts based on water consumption.
Okay, that makes sense. And then finally, just to make sure I'm clear, and the intent of the administration is to move so that regardless of which district you're in, you'll be paying the same rate. That's the intent? Through the chair?
Through you, Madam Chair, the intent is that the increase, maximum 2% increase, whether it's as Director Franklin had mentioned, either inflation, but no more than 2%, is uniform across all 4 districts.
So it's the rate increase, Madam Chair, not necessarily the rate itself.
Okay, then my suggestion would be is to take a look at the what was historically been a higher rate for the Rochester customers than has been the case for the non-Rochester customers, based upon major facility increases back in the day to make the very large tunnels, which, as we discussed earlier, we can't turn those into dollars. And they are where they are, but I still think we should move towards rates that are more equitable across all 4 districts.
I can't say, Madam Chair, through you, I can't say we totally disagree. Just the uniqueness with the city of Rochester is, the ad valorem assessment on capital. It's the only district where you have a ad valorem mechanism for producing an assessment.
Yeah.
And Madam Chair, since it was mentioned historically about the Rochester district having the highest rate, historically it had been, probably for as long as I've been a county employee, was probably the strongest financially performing district. I would like to add that there is a financial component to these rate increases. Director Garland and I review the financial position of the 4 districts on an annual basis. And we are, Madam Chair, starting to see Rochester district slip a little in its finances. It's by no means hurting, but we see the cash position coming down a little bit, but it's still good. We finally got through, hard work, bringing their annual debt service down. In 2020, it came down by $2.5 million. But I think the legislators all are aware of the major projects that are going on right now at the Frank E. Van Laer wastewater recovery plant. A $21 million electrical system, a $17 million aeration project, and a secondary clarifier project. The dollar amount slipping for me, but it's in that $10 to $20 million range itself. That will no doubt put some significant pressure again on debt service. You know, when I became CFO, debt service was more around $11 million. It had jumped to $19 million, all the districts, Madam Chair, not just Rochester. But we are starting to see that come down, and I just know, unless we get ahead of things, that's some heavy financial pressure that the Rochester district may not withstand.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. I appreciate that. And it's a but. I mean, I recognize the fact that we have been moving in the right direction. I just wish us to keep moving in the right direction with an eye on how much each individual person pays at the end of the day. And I recognize we are working on that, but it's just something important to me and has been for the past 10 years. I'm being intentionally brief today because we are online. It's challenging, and I hate to ruin my reputation, but I did have one other related question about fleet maintenance. Actually, it's not terribly related. The fleet maintenance appropriation in general across the whole division has gone down pretty much 50%. And I was curious how that was managed year from year. And it was on looking at page 117, if that's helpful.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Fleet maintenance, I'm also looking at page 137. That gives a little bit broader description of the fleet maintenance area. Appropriations are coming down quite significantly, and most of that is in the interdepartmental charges. I think, as I mentioned, this is a division that charges out its user departments, the cost of that division. Was the question, Madam Chair, more general in nature, like how are the appropriations managed on a year-to-year basis?
Yes, I was thinking that might actually account for the decrease, to be honest.
So, Madam Chair, I did not bring the 21 adopted budget with me, but I do have a note here that the Fleet Maintenance Division did receive, at some point during calendar year 21, a $100,000 grant. That $100,000 shows up in other revenue. I'm sorry, it's two grants. I'm being corrected.
200,000.
So that actually inflates the amended budget that we are required to show in the budget book. So prior to that, you would not have seen such a dramatic decrease in the appropriations going into 22. Do you want to add on to that?
Yeah, certainly. Through you, Madam Chair, the grant, as you might recall, was for a zero emissions EV fueling station grant where we're deploying 5 electric charging stations at county facilities. That's currently underway.
Yeah, I missed the grants, but that's my fault. I should have spotted those when I was looking back at previous budgets. That's all the questions I have for now. Thank you so much, both of you.
Any other questions?
Yes, through the chair, this is Legislator Brew.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, can you provide the legislature with a breakdown of all positions that fall under the portion of the 2022 budget that are authorized, funded, and vacant? The breakdown shall include each title and the corresponding budgeted amounts for salary, retirement, Social Security, medical insurance, and dental insurance. And also please indicate the fund department and cost centers charged for each corresponding position.
Madam Chair, I know this question comes up quite often. It is, I believe my answer last year was we really are not in a position to produce a list of all budgeted positions and whether they are vacant, funded, partially funded. Those tend to change within the county. Even when this budget was produced towards the latter part of October, positions have changed so much in this county. I'm not sure such a list would be representative of how things are today or next month or month 4.
Okay, thank you. And moving on to a couple other questions through the chair to the administration. Does the 2022 proposed budget allocate any cash capital for aviation department projects? If so, why was the decision made to use cash capital instead of debt service?
Madam Chair, within our Department of Aviation, no, actually we don't have any cash funded projects in the budget.
Okay, thank you. Another question, if I may, to the chair, to the administration. On page 552, appropriations, airport administration salaries increased from 793,000 and change in 2020 to 938,000 and change in 2021, amended to $1 million approximately in the 2022 proposal. Could you just give us an idea where these increases originated from and what they are allocated for, please?
Madam Chair, within aviation, the increases you see from 20 to 21 to 22, I'm probably going to repeat myself a lot. 2020, I'm just going to say, is a very difficult column to look at in this budget book. And I say that because for some areas, we brought a lot of operations to a grinding halt in order to shift resources to responding to and mitigating the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. There are other areas where you may see dramatic increases in 2020. That's because resources were shifted to that area. So again, I would just say 2020 is such a difficult column to look at. Looking at an increase between the 21 amended budget and the 22 proposed budget, at least for the airport, on page 552, airport administration, these increases are really simply the result of the natural pay and step increases that staff are entitled to under their collective bargaining agreement. But we also, in preparing this budget, knew there were a number of contracts under active renegotiation. CSEA would be a big impact for the airport, and we did try to accommodate within the proposed budget an estimate of a wage increase due to the collective bargaining agreement being settled, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Just to follow up to that, through you, Madam Chair, to the administration. So, I fully understand your explanation of the differential in the budgeted salary amounts for 2020 to 2021. It makes sense. So it's probably safe to say that across all the departments in the county, as different salaried employees were platooned to assist in COVID, we're probably going to see a similar differential in the budget reviews going forward for the various departments yet to come in front of us, correct?
Yes, Madam Chair, you will. It gets a little more complicated for me because there were instances early on in 2020 where we chose to keep the salaries of staff within their own departments, but provide CARES Act reimbursement to that department. So this budget book may, for some departments, may reflect higher utilization of staff, but then you'll see higher revenue coming from the federal government. And then there were other instances in which we added staff. We added staff like in public safety, but have their time coded to public health. So I will endeavor to do my best, as always, to try to address those anomalies as they pop up in this budget book.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Franklin. A couple other questions. I apologize. My video was frozen. I know everybody's really looking forward to see my smiling face, but all you guys get is audio. So just let me continue. I didn't want anybody to think, I know Bob Franklin likes to sort of look us legislators straight in the eye when he's answering these questions. Mr. Franklin, I was not shirking my duties, okay? My video is generally frozen. So,
Yes,
okay,
sir. Yes, sir.
here we go. On page 552, appropriations, airport administration, telephone data lines is decreasing from 17,000 in 2021 to 0 in 2022 proposed. What is the reason for that change?
Madam Chair, if I do believe we have the airport director, Director Moore, on the line to explain that change.
Through the chair to Legislator Brew, could you repeat that question one more time? Were you talking about the telephone line, line 504500?
I don't have the direct cost line direct through the chair to Director Moore. I do not have the direct cost line, but what I do have.
Madam Chair, I do.
Okay.
I do, Madam Chair. It's 504520, telephone data lines.
Okay, I've got it right in front of me. I'm sorry. Through the chair, it's just a reduction in actually the phone lines that we have in the administration office that were not being used. So we're tightening our belts and looking at more efficiencies in the administration office of the airport operations.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice. Nicely done, and always appreciate the being good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. The next question on page 552, again, appropriations, airport administration, computer software is increasing from 0 in 2021 to 1,156 in 2022. What would be the reason for that increase? This is through the chair.
Madam Chair, really that particular line, I'm getting feedback. Madam Chair, that particular line really is tied to, I don't know what the acronym, it's ArcGIS. I know GIS is Geographic Information Service, but it's really a desktop application for that particular software product. It was acquired in 20, but not budgeted for in the current year.
Okay, thank you. And one more question, not one more, but one of a few more anyways, through you, Madam Chair, the administration. Again, on page 552, appropriations, airport administration retirement is increasing from 141,905 in 2021 to $151,354 in this budget. So what would be the reason for that increase? I think I'm probably sure of the answer, but I guess I'd like to hear it anyways.
Certainly, Madam Chair, this particular line really is tied to the staff within our administration and their pay. So as we increased their pay due to step increases and anticipated estimates of a wage settlement, their New York State retirement increased the same.
Okay, thank you. Another question on page 553. Appropriations, airport administration project chargebacks is decreasing from negative 150,000 in 2021 to negative 75,000 in 2022. What is the reason behind this? And this would be through the chair, the administration.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, all our project chargebacks count 90000. In this particular line, it represents costs associated with our airport engineer and the time spent on very specific reimbursable capital projects. It's reimbursable projects that we go ahead and allow the chargeback of budgeted operating salaries.
Okay. All right. Just going through a few of the other questions that some of the answers have been previously provided. On page 558, through the chair to the administration, appropriations, airport field operations, commercial services is decreasing from $503,675 in 2021 to $464,674 in 2022. Again, what would be the reason for this decrease?
Well, Madam Chair, this particular line, there may be a lot of estimations and anticipation going on. This particular line accounts for the cost of snow plowing, our tree service at the airport, refuse collection, contracted service to swap out our floor mats, field operations software, the field reporting system, gate operations. This would include our roofing services and
Bob, you cut out there.
You might have to chat or text him because his phone is gone, even though there's no number there anymore.
Bob, you're muted. You know which one his is.
okay. Are we back, Madam Chair?
Oh, there you go, Bob.
We didn't touch a thing here, I swear. There is some estimation in this particular line. Commercial services accounts for our terminal snow plowing, our tree service, refuse pickup, the service we have to swap out our floor mats, the field reporting system, gate operators, the notification system. So there is some estimation here. Some of this decline is attributable to the decline in day-to-day passenger traffic.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Franklin. And one more question, and it would conclude my questions regarding the aviation portion of the budget. On page 680, revenues, airport administration, federal aid is down from 8 million in 2021 to 5,113,000 in 2022. Why did that, what was the reason for that decrease of almost $3 million?
Madam Chair, you may recall our Department of Aviation received direct CARES Act funding from the FAA. A good portion, all of it actually came in 2020, but they did not use it all in 2020, and they were allowed to carry forward the unspent portion of the CARES Act into 21. That CARES Act, like the county's CARES Act funding, expires at the end of this year, so you don't see that carrying forward anymore into 22.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Franklin. That concludes my questions regarding aviation. If there's any other questions related to environmental services, I would encourage my colleagues out there to go ahead and ask those at this time. And thank you very much, Mr. Franklin, for your very candid and detailed explanations. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Oh, any other questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Legislator Brough.
thank you so much. I just have a quick follow-up on page 552, because I spotted the same thing regarding telephone data lines as Legislator Brew, which is 504-520, and I just kind of assumed, I guess incorrectly, that it was related to the increase on 504-500 telephone, which is 2 lines up. So one went from 17,000 to nothing, and the other one went from nothing to 17,000. If that's not connected, what is the increase from telephone? Or am I correct? Is it correct connected?
So interesting enough, Madam Chair, I do have a little dotted line in my book that I wasn't paying attention to. It looks like there has been a shift.
Okay, so it's basically the same amount being on another line.
Madam Chair, honestly, I can't explain why sometimes a budget is put on one line when there's a similar line. I think it has to do with the type of purchase being made. I don't know if there was a switch in, for example, T1 lines versus voice over IP, how our SAP system codes the expenditure when it processes the purchase order.
Okay, thank you very much.
Other questions?
Yes, Legislator Keller, through the chair. Thank you, Mr. Franklin. I'm fairly new to this, so I certainly appreciate your expertise and explanation. So please forgive me if any of these are just my learning. I believe you already answered this, but with respect to environmental services, am I correct in saying there was no general fund balance being applied to the environmental services this year? Is that correct?
Madam Chair, in my presentation, I did talk about the use of fund balance in the 21 budget. That was out of our internal service funds, which manages building operations. So our building operations within internal services fund did not use any fund balance.
Okay, thank you. With respect to capital projects included in the 2021 to 26 capital improvement plan, and as funded as part of the 2021 budget, have any of those been delayed, downsized, or canceled as a result of appropriation restrictions as a result of COVID-19?
Well, Madam Chair, I'm going to answer no, because the question was specific to the capital improvement program going forward. Since the legislator was not here in prior years, we put the brakes on a number of capital projects due to COVID-19.
Okay.
I think we saw a lot of that in 2020, not so much in 21, and not planned going forward.
Okay, thank you. And again, through the chair, does the 2022 proposed budget allocate any cash capital for environmental services projects?
It does, Madam Chair. We have cash funded projects within each of the 4 Pure Waters districts.
Mm-hmm.
Madam Chair, I guess I'll clarify. The legislator asked about the use of general fund balance. I commented in my presentation, I talked about internal service fund balance.
Mm-hmm.
There is a use of Pure Waters fund balance within the Rochester district and Northwest Quadrant, I believe. Is that correct? Much lower than in previous years, however. There is no general fund balance here. But each of the 4 districts has a general collection system improvement project that is cash funded.
Okay, the collection system improvement projects. Okay, great.
Yes.
Can you speak to, again, through the chair, what percentage of the environmental services budget is mandated versus non-mandated?
Actually, Madam Chair, I can't tonight. We've kind of stopped presenting that in the budget book, and we didn't run those calculations, but that's something we would have to follow up on.
Okay, thank you. So again, through the chair, I've just got a couple of more detailed questions related to page 563, Appropriations, Environmental Services, Solid Waste. Principal bonds were $508,961 in 2021 and $413,310 in 2022. Can you just speak to that change?
Yes, Madam Chair. We in finance and within our Department of Environmental Services have been working hard to bring down the debt service within our solid waste administration, actually all of our solid waste divisions. And as a result of careful capital project planning and strategy around future solid waste projects, we've been able to bring debt service down quite a bit. We have talked about this in the past. I'm sure the legislator hasn't reviewed any of those years-old YouTube videos. But our solid waste division was in quite financial straits. Starting in probably 2014, Director Garland and I sat down to work out a plan to turn solid waste around. He did most of the work. And we started implementing changes probably in the 15 budget. We knew those would take a couple years to fully implement. But as a result of that work, our solid waste fund has not only produced operating income, it's actually turned the tide on its operating deficits. So we're pretty happy with that progress. The decrease in debt service is just one contribution.
Okay, great, thank you. I think possibly you already answered this one. How about, again, through the chair to the administration, on page 568, Appropriations, Environmental Services, Solid Waste, Municipal Solid Waste Processing Center Maintenance for the buildings decreases from $577,000 to only $1,400. Can you speak to that?
Madam Chair, yes, this is an example where the dotted line in my book is quite clear.
Okay.
We did budget $577,000 in the current year, the 21 budget, and that was for work at our refuse and recycling facility and the MCRC, the Monroe County
Recycling Center.
You know, honestly, those probably should have been done as capital projects, but they were supposed to be very short, time limited. So we went ahead and ran them through the operating budget. There's more work to do. And really, a capital project is a better way to approach this. So my dotted line goes from the $577,000 up to the top line, provision for capital projects, $708,000. So that is the next set of projects at those two buildings that really need some love and attention. And we have $708,000 to do that.
Okay. Great, thank you. Just a couple more here. Let's see, you've already answered several of these. Let's see here. On page 581, Appropriations, Environmental Services, Building Operations, Maintenance. Their maintenance increased from $763,000 to $1,334,000. Can you speak to that increase again through the chair?
Yes, Madam Chair. That is a big increase. But we thought the Department of Environmental Services, we discussed this, they really felt it prudent to increase this budget for additional elevator repairs and maintenance. I'm sure as legislators, you are all aware of one elevator being out of service within the county office building. We have a number of elevators across our buildings that experience similar issues. So we did add dollars for elevator repairs and maintenance. This particular line, I will point out, also includes $200,000 in Hall of Justice court requested work. So as the Office of Court Administration asks us to do similar projects, they will actually reimburse us for that. And then I will also point out $200,000 in our security systems maintenance that is in this line.
Okay, great. Just a couple more, I promise, Mr. Franklin, thank you. Let's see here, through the chair on page 582, Environmental Services, Building Operations, Diesel Fuel. We have a drop from $273,000 in 2021 to zero in 2022.
Yes, Madam Chair. That really, we have a capital project going on at Monroe Community Hospital. I think many of the legislators are aware. Our hospital receives, had been receiving both hot water and electricity from our Iola complex across the street. We have switched over electric service to RG&E. In that process, however, some significant problems arose, and we ended up having to lease generators for life and safety reasons at Monroe Community Hospital.
Wow.
Those generators run on diesel fuel, so we had a lot of scrambling to do, and had to find $273,000 of appropriations for that diesel fuel. That will not be reoccurring in '22.
Right, okay. Well, it sounds like a very worthy scramble to continue to provide power to MCH. Okay, super. Let's see, just a couple more through the chair, page 584, looking at fleet maintenance salaries. There's a decrease there of about $102,000. Is that a staffing change or?
Madam Chair, this particular area, we did lower the budget. It is, staff turnover has been an issue within fleet, probably for over a decade. So we do have salary reduction for turnover, and we did apply a vacancy factor because that turnover happens every year. And we took the opportunity to reduce that budget.
Okay, great. Let's see, I only have a couple more here. On page 584, we have gasoline increasing. I think that answer is probably fairly obvious, just rising fuel costs there.
This particular line,
595 to 584.
Yeah, this increase in gasoline, there is math behind that number, and it is an increase for the price per gallon.
Okay, that sounds good. Again, through the chair, can you speak to, is the total number of vehicles in the county fleet, is that generally increasing or are we decreasing those?
Yeah, sure. For you, Madam Chair, the number of vehicles will fluctuate on an annual basis, some through attrition and some through bringing on other specialized pieces of equipment. We do auction annually vehicles that are beyond their useful life. So again, you'll see those fluctuations occur throughout the year. Again, we buy the vehicles that we need to be able to perform the operations that we're responsible for, and try to, again, responsibly manage the budget and the number of vehicles that we operate and maintain.
Okay, great. And one last thing, again, through the chair, can this committee be provided a list of all the county take-home vehicles and who the personnel associated with those?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, we can.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your explanations, and that concludes my questions.
Are there any other questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Legislator Brough, go ahead.
Thank you. Just as a follow-up to Legislator Keller's question regarding the take-home vehicle request, could the administration please include a historic number with that, as well as what's the vehicle number been for the past 5 years or so? Is that possible?
Through you, Madam Chair, we will look for that data and provide it if available.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing that there are no other questions, thank you very much, Mr. Franklin, for your presentation, and for taking the time to answer all of our questions. We appreciate the support and all the work you're doing.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
On to the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. You have the October 25th, 2021 minutes of the Environment and Public Works Committee before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. And then the next item is new business.
Referral 21-0410, amend the 2021 capital budget and bond resolution 365 of 2020 to provide an increase in funding and authorize a contract with Passero Associates Architecture and Surveying for design services for the access circulation roadway improvements project at the Frederick Douglass Greater Rochester International Airport.
Move it, Madam Chairwoman.
Second.
Moved by legislator Keller, seconded by legislator Don Dorfer.
Madam Chair,
Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yes, legislator Broth. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the administration, I see that we're intending to get $200,000 in this referral, and we have a contract for $140,000 for the Passero Associates. Where is the other $60,000 going through the chair?
Madam Chair, we have Airport Director Moore on the line.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, Andy Moore, Airport Director. The $200,000 is an increase in the total funding for the project from 500 to 700, whereas the $140,000 represents the design and engineering fee to Passero Associates.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
Yes, Legislator Keller, through the chair, when will we know if we've received the Airport Economic Development Revitalization Grant?
Through the chair, Andy Moore, Airport Director. There's 18 airports across New York State that wish they had that answer, sir.
Okay, great.
As of today, we do not know when that decision will be made. I have been told by the New York State Department of Transportation that they are reviewing all applications. But as of today, nobody has an answer to that question.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'll continue to hope that we're one of the ones that gets it. One additional question through the chair then, and again, this just goes to my perhaps my newness at reading these referrals, but sometimes they'll state specifically whether or not there were RFQs or RFPs issued and who the other respondents may have been. Was an RFQ or an RFP issued for this particular referral?
Through the chair, Andy Moore, Airport Director. An RFP and RFQ was issued about a year ago to engineering firms. A selection committee was put together and 3 engineering firms were selected to do airport work. Passero Associates, CHA, and McFarland Johnson are the 3 engineering firms. And so those are the 3 that get assigned various projects based on their qualifications and expertise on airport work. And that did go through a referral approved by this county legislative body.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moore. That's clear and perhaps answers questions on several of the other referrals before us this evening. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right, seeing that there's no questions, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral 21-0411, authorize a contract with ME Engineering for professional engineering services for the Civic Center Complex Reconstruction Project.
Move it, Madam President.
Second.
Moved by legislator Don Dorfer, seconded by legislator Brew. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead, legislator Broth.
thank you. Through you to the administration, what is the timeline of this contract?
Madam Chair, we do have Mr. Bill Daly from our Environmental Services on the line.
Madam Chair, good evening. This is Bill Daly with DES. The timeline for this project, physical assessment would start with approval January 2022. Project design would start in March of 2022, and we'd anticipate construction to start November 22 after we came back to your honorable body to get approval for the contracts, and we'd anticipate construction completion to be December of 23.
Thank you. As a quick follow-up question, given the construction would take approximately a full year, through the chair of the administration, am I correct to assume that this construction would be done in such a way that the Civic Center complex itself would continue to operate?
Through Madam Chair, that is correct. It's a multi-phase project, and we would ensure that there'd be access to the garage and the garage would maintain operation.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Legislator Dondorfer.
Yep, go ahead.
Through you, Madam Chair, to the administration, with this work being done, is there anything that is being done to address the homeless population that is that resides in the garage?
Through you, Madam Chair, this is Jeff McCann. We have had ongoing efforts regarding the garage and the people who are staying in the garage. So this project itself won't have any effect on those efforts. Like I said, those efforts have been ongoing, and over the last several months, we've feel as though we've made some significant progress on that issue, and we will remain diligent in dealing with finding placements for the individuals who are still in the garage.
I totally understand the dilemma that you guys face there. I guess maybe another question is there any safety concern during the construction project that is going to be an issue for the construction crew and the safety of the people who are residing in the garage? Through you, Madam Chair, to the administration.
Through you, Madam Chair, no, we do not have, we do not anticipate that being a problem.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a follow-up question to legislator Dondorfer. When you say there's ongoing efforts to make some improvements to that, what are some of the ways that you have gone about making changes to the homeless issue in the garage?
I believe you would want to ask the administration that and not legislator Dondorfer. Sorry.
No, I said follow up to legislator Dondorfer, sorry, to the administration. What are the details of some of those ongoing efforts?
Sure. To you, Madam Chair. We have had teams of fit workers, of social workers and homeless advocates that have made regular visits to the garage multi times a day in an effort to engage the homeless individuals and properly socialize them and communicate to them that there are options available. I think it's very safe to say that there are really not any individuals who are staying in the garage are doing so because there are not other placement options for them. This is something that our staff has worked on. I think everybody knows, this has been a problem that has gone on for years. We have become much more vigilant in terms of our outreach efforts to people, and unfortunately, it just takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to help get the folks who are down there at a point where they're ready to move. And I know this is all anecdotal, but we've had an individual who has been on the streets for years who finally accepted placement within the last couple weeks with that. And one of the things that we're doing is we also had another individual who actually had placement in an apartment who was actually back in the garage after they had an apartment. So our team is going out and talking with people and trying to find the right, make connections on the right issues that are they're concerned, that are helping, that are causing them to want to be in the garage. And again, there's been quite a bit of time and effort that's gone into this. And again, we make multi times a week and multi times a day efforts to reach out and engage the people who are in the garage in an effort to help move them into a more suitable housing solution.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Legislator Udelson.
Yep, go ahead, Legislator Udelson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I just want to clarify the item on the agenda is for the engineering services. This contract doesn't involve this engineering firm addressing the issue or the plight of the homeless people staying in the garage. Is that correct? Through you to the administration?
To you, Madam Chairwoman, yes, that is correct.
Okay. And I just to follow up on Jeff McCann's comments, the Deputy County Executive, I do want to thank the administration for finally trying to approach this issue and see what can be done after it being unaddressed for many years. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, item carries.
Referral 21-0412, authorized contracts with Bergman Associates, architects, engineers, landscape architects and surveyors, Erdman, Anthony and Associates, Labella Associates, Popley Architecture and Engineering, and SWBR Architecture, Engineering and Landscape Architecture for Monroe Community College Engineering and Architectural Firm Services.
Move it, Mr. Chairman. Legislator Brew.
Second by Legislator Keller.
Okay, it was moved by Legislator Brew, seconded by Legislator Keller. Is there any questions?
Yeah, Legislator Keller. So I understand that there's a number of firms here that are being contracted to provide support for time-sensitive projects. I think it's a common question for all of these sort of longer-term, time-sensitive contracts. What was there an RFP process, and were there a lot of other firms that responded? Through the chair, thank you.
Through Madam Chair, Yes, there was an RFP process as an expression of interest process. 22 firms expressed interest. Architectural, B&L, Bergman, CNS, BHA, Costage, CPL, E&I, Urban Anthony, Fisher, Hunt, Labella, M&E, New York Engineers, Passero, Popley, Savin, SEI Design Group, SWVR, Terracon, Troutman, TY Lin. Then there's a shortlist process, and we requested an RFP to B&L, Bergman, CHA, CPL, Urban Anthony, Labella, Popley, and SWVR.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing that there's none, all those in favor, please
Aye.
signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral 21-0413, authorized contracts with CNS Architects, Engineers, and Landscape Architect, and CPL Architects, Engineers, Landscape Architect, and Surveyor for Monroe Community Hospital Architectural and Engineering Term Services.
Move it, Madam Chairwoman.
Second it.
Moved by legislator Keller, seconded by legislator Dondorfer. There I go again. Any questions? No questions. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral 21-0414, authorized contracts with Barton and LaJudas, Bergman Associates, Architects, Engineers, Landscape Architects and Surveyors, Labella Associates, Popley Architecture and Engineering, and SWBR Architecture, Engineering, and Landscape Architecture for general engineering and architectural term services.
Move it, Madam Chairperson.
Second.
Moved by legislator Dondorfer, seconded by legislator Brew. Any questions? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Item carries.
Referral 21-0415, authorized contracts with the Pike Company, LaChase Construction Services, and DeMarco Constructors for general construction management term services.
Move it, Madam Chairman.
Second.
Moved by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Keller. Any questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral 21-0416, authorize a contract with Barton and LaJudas for general solid waste consulting term services.
Move it, Madam Chairwoman.
Second.
Moved by legislator Keller, seconded by legislator Dondorfer. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral 21-0417, authorize a contract with SWBR Architecture, Engineering, and Landscape Architecture and TY Lin International Engineering and Architecture for code enforcement term services.
Move it, Madam Chairperson.
Second. Brew.
Moved by legislator Dondorfer, seconded by legislator Brew. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral 21-0418, authorize contracts with Day Engineering, Lero Engineers, and Ravi Engineering and Land Surveying for environmental consulting term services.
Move it, Madam Chair.
Second.
Moved by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Keller. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral 21-0420, authorized contracts with Arcadis of New York, Day Engineering, MRB Group, Engineering, Architecture, and Surveying, and Wendell WD Architecture, Engineering, Surveying, and Landscape Architecture for wastewater engineering term services.
Move it, Madam Chairwoman.
Second.
Moved by legislator Keller, seconded by legislator Dondorfer. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item carries.
Referral 21-0422, classification of action, designation of lead agency, and determination of significance pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act for Gage Tally Ogden Sewer District's acquisition of real property located at 13 and 15 Carroll Street in the Village of Church.
Move it, Madam Chairperson.
Second, Brew.
Moved by legislator Dondorfer, seconded by legislator Brew. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item carries. Do I have to, is there anyone opposed? I just didn't see anybody say they were opposing, so, okay. Next.
Okay. Referral 21-0425, classification of action and determination of significance pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act for the sale of county-owned tax foreclosure property located at 1800 South Winton Road in the town of Brighton.
So move, Brew.
Second, Keller.
Moved by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Keller. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral number 21-0427, classification of action and determination of significance pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act for the sale of county-owned tax foreclosure property located at 2950 Atlantic Avenue in the town of Penfield.
Move it, Madam Chairwoman.
Second.
Moved by legislator Keller, seconded by legislator Dondorfer. Is there any discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral number 21-0473, amend resolution 136 of 2021 to increase the contract of CHA Consulting to add professional architectural and engineering services for the Frontier Field Major League Baseball requirements project.
Move it, Madam Chair.
Moved by legislator Dondorfer, seconded by legislator Brew. Is there any discussion?
Legislator Dondorfer.
Yep, go ahead.
I just have one quick question through you to the administration. Earlier in the year, we approved up to $1 million. Is this just the, I guess, for lack of better words, the final bill on what the consulting fee was for the work that needs to be done?
Through Madam Chair, this represents the cost to complete the design for the work that needs to be done. Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
And any other discussion or questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead, legislator Broth.
thank you. I just want my clarification because some of my papers got mixed up here. Is this considered a matter of urgency through the chair?
This is a matter of importance.
Matter of importance. Okay. Thank you. And then I guess my question then through the chair of the administration, is there a time constraint on getting this approved that we need to do this now, which I have no issue with? I just want to check.
Through to you, Madam Chair, this is Mike Garland. I would offer that we're submitting this referral as a matter of importance. We just again finalized the information that we needed to be able to present it to your honorable body. We want to begin design after the first of the year so we can stay on the Major League Baseball schedule that they'd outlined.
Okay, so it's to meet the schedule for next year. That makes sense. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Any other discussion points or questions? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral 21-0474, amend the 2021-2026 capital improvement program and the 2021 capital budget to add a project entitled Monroe Community College Sports Facility Lighting Project, authorize financing for the project, authorizing contracts with the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York.
Move it, Madam Chairman.
Second.
Moved by legislator Bruce, seconded by legislator Keller. Is there any discussion? Seeing that there's none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Item carries. Oh, are we, is that was
would be the last one.
that would be the last one. All right, are there any other matters to come before the committee? I guess there's none. There being no other matters, the November 22nd meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee will be announced.